everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition. And today we are going to talk about support. We're going to talk about working for free. And we're going to talk about the different iterations in between all that. So you see a lot of different perspectives on this, and a lot of, should spirituality cost money? What is the line here? And is it okay to charge money for certain things and not okay to charge money for other things? And where do we draw that line? But is it also, I see a lot of stuff almost promising all this money if you go through certain things on spirituality, And the book The Secret did a lot on this, and I keep seeing it repeated and repeated back to the collectives again. And I think it gives people it gives something for people to grab onto. Like, oh, I can have everything I want if I focus on my intentions and focus on my thoughts and focus on my vibration. And there's not a component to that, to abundance, and a component to that spirituality. But it's not that. It is simpler than that, and then it's not that simple. So it's sort of two sides of a coin that I feel like there's getting to be a bigger and bigger disconnect from it. So, and if you hear any scratching in the background, I'm in another room and I have one cat in this room and the other cat not in this room because they have been arguing. So I'm trying to separate them out a little bit and reintroduce them. So if you hear a little banging, that would be one cat trying to get out and the other cat trying to get in. But if I reversed it, I'd have it the other way. So my apologies, but that's where we are right now here. I'm trying to realign this reality that I had let get a little out of alignment because I've been focusing on other things. Okay, so what is abundance? And can I really manifest abundance through different techniques taught in spirituality? Can I think about abundance? Can I focus on being abundant? Can I saw this, if I love money, will money love me? And all these kind of paraphrases you see. I'm not going to say it's all bullshit because there is a lot of components of an energetic thread there. But if you pull on this long enough, it's going to unravel. Because one thing we get stuck on for a long time is the fact that money is not what your soul wants. Money does not make anybody happy. It will not make you happy. It will not make anybody happy. And I mean you as the royal you, like all of us. In the history of the world, it's never made anybody happy. It's not a happy, it's energy, but it's not rooted in happiness. It's rooted in convenience. And that's what money is. It makes things easier. It makes things a little more convenient. But it doesn't make anybody happy. And the more we explore that topic, and I think the more we've seen that throughout so many people we've met in our own lives and watching other stories about other people's lives, that theme comes through over and over and over again. Money does not make you happy. Yet that seems to be what everybody is striving for. When you start to see abundance, everyone bundles money in here and says, oh, money. Money's all I'm going to need. But we've seen time and time again that's not true, but it's still the one thing people gravitate toward because there's a success in it. There's a freedom attached to that, right? That we get kind of tangled up with money. That it does make it easier. We have more freedom here, but that's really not the purpose of it. Okay, I'm gonna show you that the cat that's been a little mean. There he is. Look at that little fatty. Yep, that's him. He's on parole right now. He's on parole, trying to make me feel bad about it. Okay, we've tangled them up, right? We've tangled them up because we kind of feel like they're all the same. And we really want to start to separate them out. And why do we want it? Because I will tell you, ascension and money, it's a different game. And you're not going to have money. It's not a linear trajectory where you keep going up and up and up and up and up. And that's not really how it is in human life either, honestly. You have ups and downs through all of your human experience with money. I've had times when I was in my human experience, I had a lot of money, and I had times I didn't have any money. And it's also true, I think, in your ascended realities to an extent. That's why we go through them in our human reality, so we kind of get used to that boomerang a little bit. Now, I do think it's more extreme in our ascended realities because we get stripped down. Not having a lot of money in our human realities might be, oh, I can't buy that Prada purse I wanted, or I can't go on that vacation I wanted, or I can't buy that car I want. And it's going to be different versions of that, but I think you're going to get my point. But in our ascended realities, it might be like, oh, can I afford a place to live? Or am I going to have any money to eat tomorrow? It makes us test our will in a sense. And if we really believe our universe is going to let us starve or not, when we go through these ascended kind of tests, so will we go back into the human realities where we feel like it maybe at one point it was safer, or are we going to keep going down this path we felt like we're supposed to go down? And you're going to go back and forth on it for a while because it's scary when you don't know. One thing about ascended realities is you don't know where the money's coming from for a while. I'll have an idea where I think certain things are going to come from for me to fund certain other things, but it hasn't come yet. But I kind of know. It'll be a time when you'll start to kind of know, like, oh, I know how I'm going to pay for that. I know I'm going to have money come in maybe in these months to cover this, because it's a line for me to have it. And if the money doesn't come in, it's not a line for me to have it yet. And that's kind of what we have to start thinking about. And not kind of tying in success with spirituality as I'm going to have all this money. Because you will be disappointed. I hate to deliver the news. This is going to be like breaking news. But if you think at the end of this journey that you're just going to be able to sit there and think about money and it's going to just come to you because you want it, because you're wanting it from a different place. Our human wants money because we want the external stuff for other people to see it. Our ascended soul, our soul requires the money to put it in service, to put out things for humanity, to make sure our vibration can be at a certain point to support humanity. There's a different reason for the money. You'll know when you get money what it's for. It's not for your human. And until your human stops meddling in the money, you won't have it. And if you have it, it is going to be karmically tied and it's not going to end the way you want it to. Because you want it for yourself. Money is not about us anymore. It's not about what I want for myself. It's about what can I do with it? What project can I fund with this? Maybe I need to get a bigger house because I want to do other things with that home. It's not saying it won't be there. What I'm saying is it's not going to be there for the reasons you think you want it there, or for the reasons that you're kind of getting promised in a lot of stuff that's why you can have it. Because if you just say, oh, I love money, money's going to love you. And a lot of us have a complicated issue with money because we always feel like we didn't have enough of it. But we didn't have enough of it in a human standard. We didn't have enough of it because our human kept wanting more and more and more and more and more. We have plenty. I would always say, I see so many people, one person lives in a house and there's 3 cars. We don't need all this stuff. So it's almost looking at what do you really need? And is that need getting met? Not what I want. You humans going to want things. And the more you want things, spirituality is always going to disappoint you. Because it's not for those things. Spirituality is for enhancing, embodying your soul. It's the gateway, really, to embodying your soul. We go beyond spirituality. We go to embodiment. But we can't get to embodiment unless we even understand the core of spirituality, which is getting in touch with yourself. Embodying our soul is kind of the next step from that. But if we're waiting for all this money to come in and think that that's what this journey's about, that's not what the journey's about. It's not what the journey's about. It's not what the journey was ever about. But it's kind of gotten packaged and sold to us in this extent that that's what it's about. I could put out 100 videos on how to get money in 20 minutes and people would want to watch that stuff all day. I might put out a video where it's more like this one, and that's not what people want to hear, because they want to hear, I want it to make my life easier. Unless we care about other people, it doesn't matter if our life is easier. Because we're not going to do anything with it. You can look at a lot of people who have what might look like a cushier life, but what have they done with it? What have they done with it to really help out humanity? And not, oh, well, I'll give you, 1% of what I have to help out humanity. Who's giving 85% of what they have to help out humanity? That's the kind of questions you have to start to ask yourself. Why do I want this stuff? What part of me wants it? Why is it important? But then I see the flip, and I always want to talk about the flip side, where people aren't asking for anything because they feel like if they're in service to humanity, that should be free because that's not valued in some way. And you want to make sure you don't go the other extreme and you start thinking that everything you have for service to humanity is free. I draw the line as anything I do, I kind of draw the line in different ways now. It used to be, if I put it out with the collectives, it would do it for free. So the YouTube was free, the Instagram was free. Those were free things, right? Everything I did, and some of the courses, I think at a time I had a couple of those for free. Then I kind of shifted that. And then if I did a personal session, I would charge for that. One-on-one I would charge for. And then I've shifted it again. Because what you're going to find is human won't value free. Okay? So you're kind of feeding a black hole. And you see that all the time with creators and content creators and people now having to try to move to different genres to make money. They're going to Patreon. People are going to Substack. People are going to different places to put stuff behind a paywall. And everyone can get mad about the paywall and get angry about the paywall. But if people supported, if they could support, you wouldn't even have to have a paywall. But you have to have the paywall to kind of, I don't want to say separate out the people, but what you're doing is seeing who wants to support it with their money. You know, who values it with their money. You know, who's going to look at something and go, I'm going to support that person because if I support others, I will be supported. And you might not have the money to support someone right now. And when I say don't have the money, I mean, you really don't have the money. Like you might not have the money to have a place to live, or you're trying to find a place to live, or you're in a very precarious financial situation, which is different than not having the money. Like a lot of human consciousness will say, "Oh, I don't have the money, but I'm going to go and you know, I'm going to go whatever. I want to make something up, but I'm going to go on this vacation." Which I've seen. We don't have any money, but well, God, we're going to Bermuda next month. Well, that's not free. It's just they're not allocating the money. It's not valued. And that's what you want to start to look. It's not about what you're charging. It's who's valuing what you have to offer. And if over time you notice you're not getting a value to it because so much stuff has been given for free, now the human doesn't want to pay for it. So you kind of have to take it away and say, look, there's a value here, and if you don't see the value, you can respect where that person is, but we have to go on, because we have to see our value and decide what that value is. And then other people who can support will support. And if you can't support with money, maybe you share the video. It's even funnier to me what people won't share because they don't want people to know that they might be into that, or they might think that's kind of cool. And even on Substack, which I've gotten on, I've noticed people, I could get completely called off for those on Substack. I haven't been on it that long, but instead of subscribing to someone, you're going to follow someone. Why not just subscribe to someone? Because what I noticed with Substack is you have to have so many subscribers before you can do so many live streams to reach more people. So why are you going to follow someone when you can just subscribe to the person? And you can even not even do the pay one if you don't want to at first, because you want to see, and you want to see what is their content like. Is this someone I want to support? Is this someone who's really maybe doesn't have as much as I do and I could support? Maybe the content is not something I'm going to look at and go, oh, that's really something I might feel relevant, but I can know how their heart's in it. And you can see that too. There's different reasons why I'm going to support something and not support something else. If I see AI mentioned in anybody's stuff, I won't support it. I don't care if they want $1 a month. I won't support it because I'm not supporting AI in the capacity of how it's being bastardized in spirituality. So that is one line I have in the sense I won't support it. When it's not, to me, those are two different things right now that I don't want meshed together. But when can you support? And when are you just kind of doing, let me just follow this person and then I don't have to commit. Where subscribing to them opens up more doors for them. I won't follow anybody. I either subscribe or I do not subscribe. I will either pay subscribe or I might free subscribe for a while and then go to paid if I feel like aligned to do that. And it might not be content I ever listen to or even read. It's not about that. It's about supporting other people who it feels aligned to support. And like I said, if you can share someone's stuff, you can Substack, and then Substack, it's your you're restacking or something. But even just sharing someone's content, even you can do it on YouTube now, allows a lot of that stuff. So there's a lot of different ways to support people, and there's a lot of different reasons. We have to really look at why don't we. There's a lot of people I listen to, and I'm like, oh, I wonder why haven't I gone to their paid stuff yet? Why don't I do that? I have to check myself with that sometimes. Why don't I do that? Why am I not doing that? And maybe this is kind of a call to action for a lot of people to start looking at that. And I've seen a lot of people where people will do advertisements in the middle of their YouTube videos. And I'll see comments where people actually write comments and say, well, we're just going to skip through that so we can get to the rest of the video. There's just no respect for what people are putting out. That's what's driving so many people off a lot of the free platforms, because it has not been respected. And the content is never going to be. So you really got to take a look at what the supportee tier is very important. You will never be supported if you will not support other people. Whether it's supporting with your energy, but if you can support them with money, you should support them with money. I mean, you should, if you can, and it feels aligned to do that. But even if you can't do that, there are other ways to support people. But what I see is just the blanket black hole of it. And like you just see it, so it's such a through line. If someone is supporting you, you support them. I've always said, I don't care if one person watches my stuff. I want to connect with that one person. And it doesn't matter about the other people. It just doesn't matter, because if you can't connect with one person, 50,000 don't matter. It's not the point of it. It's not the reason we do it. But everyone also is trying to support realities. And you're either going to help them support realities, you're going to assist them in that support, or you're not. And then you have to look at why you're not. And like I said, on the flip, as creators, people who are putting out content, why are you not charging? Now, if you don't require the money, that's another topic we can discuss. Some people don't really need the money. They don't require money. They have enough to be comfortable, and it's just not something they require. That's a different story. Then you don't charge. If you don't require the money, you don't charge. One thing you're going to find in Ascension is it's going to be where you are as to how much money you're going to get supported. There have been some realities where I've had a lot of support because I needed it to pay for the rent in the place I was, or pay for the house payment. But once a lot of that stuff got whittled away, your support can come from different places. It can come from a job that you have. It can come from family. It can come from selling something you had. Don't get bogged down. Support has to come from one particular place. It's going to come from all over. Just don't shut anything out because you don't like the way it comes. But there might be another reality where you get in, where you have a place to live, you have food, you have everything you need to share and support other people. Whether it's you're just energetically supporting other people, you don't need the rest of the stuff. It's not something you need immediately. So and then you won't have a lot come in that reality because you don't need it. Someone else needs it more than you do right then. And then you might, a year later, all of a sudden, I need to go get a place of my own again, and I can't share the space anymore because it's not aligned. And then you'll have more money come in then, because you're in a line with your universe. You're not in a line with your human wanting the money. Want. You'll never be satisfied. I cannot stress it enough. And you're setting yourself up for failure, because it's not going to happen like that. That's not how the cookie crumbles. It's not how the ball rolls. And there are people going through Ascension and Awakening that just have more money. But that means they can support more people who don't have it, who are going through and sharing their content. That's what they're going to do with their money. So it's a lot of caveats to this. There's a lot of different ins and outs of this. Just you really want to look at what you are feeling on it. What is your feeling on it? Why? Why do you do one thing over the other? What's the reason? And if it's just because, and I see a lot of this on YouTube. I used to see a lot of it. You still see a lot of it. You subscribe or you follow this person, they'll follow you back. But there's no synergy in it. You kind of want to look, or someone is supporting you and maybe looking at your stuff, but you're not paying that forward. You're not doing that back. And it's not that you did it to get it back. but you really want to look at it, or you just so focused on what you're doing. And I know when I first got on, Substack is the one I can talk about because that's the one I'm on right now. When I first got on there, I just posted a lot of, I was trying to really get my stuff built out, but I really enjoyed going through and starting to have the time later, with maybe came about a month later, actually being able to look at people's stuff and look at some of the stuff people were saying. Vibrationally, I might not agree with all of it. Everyone's in a different place, but you still see all the people sharing. And I think the same thing's true with YouTube, Instagram, all of it really. What assists you, and how are you supporting that person for assisting you? That's what you really want to look at. And that's what's important. So, all right, now I'm going to leave it at that. The cat is still in prison in here. He's just given up now. He's just setting down. You know, I can see the old school, you know, shots of prison where they're banging their glass. They're banging their cup against the wall. And that's about what the poor thing's about ready to do. So, all right, keep practicing the art of intuition.